There's a phrase that gets thrown around a lot, usually when you see someone who oftentimes doesn't know what they're doing succeed far greater than someone who does know what they're doing. Beginner's luck. I am a shining example of that, as one of my first videos on this channel went for 100,000 views for absolutely no reason. In my case, I had no idea what I was doing. But oftentimes, these beginners do know what they're doing. And today, I'm gonna be talking about 3 of my favorite directorial debuts of the last 25 years. And check in on these directors to see how their careers have evolved. Let's indulge. Of course, there are a million different options that I could go with for this video, but there's a couple things I'm trying to stick to here. I want to go with directors who at least have had a decent body of work now, just so we can see some career growth. Number 1, in no specific order, we have Ex Machina, directed by Alex Garland. Alex Garland has been a very fun career to follow thus far. He actually started as a writer and a novelist. At 26 years old, he wrote a book called The Beach that was eventually adapted into the late 90s movie The Beach, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. It was DiCaprio's first role after Titanic. The book was good to great, the movie not so much, but Garland has always been a very interesting writer. And Ex Machina, which came out in 2014, has now been a very interesting movie to look at in the year of 2026, in a year where technology has kind of become at the forefront of everything in the modern world. Of course, Ex Machina is all about the human versus AI android relationship, and in typical Alex Garland fashion, it's not all butterflies and bubble gum and cupcakes. No, it's quite dark, much more malevolent than that. And that's why I loved Ex Machina so much, because it took not only this awesome concept, it looked at it through this ominous lens, which at the time you might have thought it to be more science fiction. And well, now we see it and it's like, okay, that could very well be the case within the next 10 to 15 years here. From Ex Machina, he went on to do what is such a captivating sci-fi epic in Annihilation. I feel like not enough people have seen this movie, and it feels very commercial friendly. It's so intense. It really captured that post-interstellar sci-fi space existentialism themes, and it has also one of the most intense scenes I've ever seen in a movie. Annihilation was great. I don't think it got the respect that it deserved. And then from there, we went to a movie like Men, which highly divisive, shot and directed in such an elegant way, but the story kind of lacked at certain points. Men was not one of my favorites. And then we go into this new era of Alex Garland right now. He seems to be obsessed with making war movies to mixed reviews. And I will say I haven't seen Warfare yet because it's packaged in the same exact way as Civil War, and honestly, I'm just not a huge war movie guy. I'll get around to it eventually. But Civil War, again, another divisive movie. That's what he loves to do. But when I say Civil War, there's really one thing that comes to my mind. It's Jesse Plemons, who had all of 5 to 10 minutes of screen time and walked away with quite possibly one of the strongest supporting roles I've seen in a movie in the last 25 years. This is a guy who did the absolute most with the very limited screen time he had, and it's a scene that will forever be embedded in my mind. So Alex Garland, he has seen highs, he has seen some lows, but the one thing about him is he has continued to stay very, very interesting. And I don't think every single movie that a director makes has to land for the masses, but it does have to make people think, and he has never stopped doing that. Up next, come on guys, this is an obvious one. Jordan Peele, one of the kings of comedy in the 21st century, directing Get Out. One of the most iconic horror movies of not only the last 25 years, but of all time. There's not much to say about Get Out that hasn't already been said. It's a genre-defying and socially poignant horror movie that completely shook up the movie-watching world. And at the end of the day, it's really, really hard to have much more acclaim on a debut feature than Jordan Peele did with this movie. So it's going to be very, very hard to follow up an act like this. So what has Peele done since? Well, he followed it up with Us, which to me was forgettable. I've only seen it twice, and both of them were pretty soon after it came out. I'd be interested to watch it again without having the influence of Get Out in my mind. And if it's even just a little bit off the quality of that, people are going to be disappointed. I was one of those people. I was a little bit disappointed by Us, but like I said, I gotta go back and rewatch it because looking at it through a clearer lens might change my opinion of it. And then he did Nope, which I liked Nope a lot more. Aliens, who doesn't love some aliens? And he put an awesome spin on it. The thing about Nope is that some of the most interesting scenes didn't even have to do with the aliens. It had to do with the human relationships with the animals and the freaking monkey, man. The monkey. That's the thing with these horror directors is who come from comedy backgrounds. They know how to seamlessly blend the comedic with the morbid and the gloomy, because oftentimes comedy and horror come from the same place. It's just the lens you decide to look at it through. I'm not entirely sure what Peele's next project is going to be. He did just produce that god-awful football movie. But Jordan Peele has definitely started his career with a bang. He's one of those directors who already, through just 3 movies, through 1 movie, has made whatever movie he releases appointment movie watching. And similar to Peele, for my next choice, is Ari Aster, who, of all the people on this list, has had the most interesting career. He's had 4 features at this point, starting with Hereditary. Hereditary is Hereditary. Again, one of the most iconic horror movies of all time, and a movie that, for all the good it did, ushered in this trend of making every single horror movie just a depiction of mental health. Every single ghost or every single shadow or every single bad thing is just some depiction of mental health. It was good the first couple times, but after that it's like, all right, let's get original, guys. Hereditary is Hereditary. So this is another case of a director setting himself up with expectations moving forward. When you make one of the scariest movies of all time, you expect that they will continue to follow this trend and not buck it. And with Midsommar, Aster kind of stayed on line with it. The first 5 minutes of Midsommar is very Hereditary-esque, so especially when you're watching that in the theater, when I'm watching it for the first time, I'm thinking to myself, here we go again. And while it did have a lot of similarities with Hereditary, it was also very, very different. He never shied away from the shock value, that's for sure. He was never afraid to get really, really weird. And I love a cult movie. Who doesn't love a cult movie? Obviously, this was very Wicker Man inspired, but more of a modern take on it. Midsommar was great. It was after Midsommar where things really started getting weird. Beau is Afraid, I'll be honest, I hated Beau is Afraid right out of the gate. And I've talked about this in former videos, but it's really interesting because as it's aged a little bit and as I've seen it more, I've actually found myself really, really respecting Beau is Afraid, and even finding that it has influenced some of the things I write or some of the things I shoot. The disorientation of it, the surrealism of it, and again, I think a lot of this, the first time watching Beau is Afraid, had to do with the expectations of Hereditary. Midsommar, oh, we're gonna get another horror banger. It was not that. Yes, it was super suspenseful, it was very intense. I was clenched the whole time watching it. Aster used a lot of the tools he used in the first couple movies to create the suspense, but it was definitely not a horror movie. And then we go to Eddington, which this guy is all over the place. Aster is one of the directors who you could say, through his first 4 movies, has made 4 movies that are 4 completely different genres. And that to me is awesome. I love when an artist doesn't stick in a single lane and starts to branch out. Because oftentimes when they are branching out, you can still see the semblance of tools or personality or style blend across the genres. The heart of the director is still there, but it's just being told through different stories. Eddington, I could spend 30 minutes talking about that movie. But the most important thing is when a director or a movie makes makes you think. And this movie made people think. Made people think hateful thoughts in some ways. It made some people think that this guy's a genius. It made some people think they will never watch another Ari Aster movie. But that's the beauty of it all. I personally thought Eddington was pretty genius, and while it is so different from anything else he has done, it just makes me even more excited for what is to follow. It's really cool being able to go back and follow the ebbs and flows of these careers from the start, like Jordan Peele or Ari Aster, who also found this absurdly high ceiling, but have continued to kind of live up to it over their last couple films and have now made themselves appointment viewing. And then you have a director like Alex Garland, who is a little bit of an indie darling, has never truly broke through to the mainstream, but has continued to put out respectable work as a director. All paths are different, no paths are created equally, and I can't wait to continue to follow some of these directors as they move forward in their career. Guys, I hope you enjoyed yet another Chich Files video. If you haven't already, go ahead and like, subscribe, comment, whatever it is that you do on this platform. That is YouTube. I will see you guys next time. Take care.